There are things that
Yeah.
they're looking for. They found 3 of them so far, 4
7
of them.
pieces of bacon. Sorry. I'm sorry. For context. Hi, this is Juniper.
Hello, this is Elle.
Welcome to our pod. Today, we're going to do a quick wrap up of a show we have previously done. Send it on its merry way or unmerry way. Just go away, actually, in my mind, which is Feud. And we also then immediately started another show at the same time that was, I think, has started broadcasting as Feud was out. We just had to finish Feud and then start watching this other show, which is the 7 Relics of Ill Omen. In Chinese, it's 七根心简, which is based on a novel by a writer who has another show coming up with cdrama and Chen. So I think she tends to write kind of these adventure, mystery, like, I don't know, treasure
With very
hunting type of.
with very dark themes.
Yes.
Mur
Yes.
murder, murder,
Yeah.
mayhem. Yeah.
Actually, your one of your favorite actresses, Nini, was in one 2 years ago, I want to say.
Hmm.
So yeah, you didn't know that, did you?
No.
Anyway, so 2 very different shows, and we'll start with Feud because we had spent a whole pod last time dedicated to over analyzing and over venting, I think, on Feud, and we had made projections at the time about how we think it was going to end, how it should end, and what would make it right for us for it to end
Mhm.
in a certain way. So,
So do
Elle,
you
you want to
think,
start?
I was gonna say, do you think
Oh,
it
okay.
it made it right for you? 'Cause you had very strong opinions at the time about the female lead.
By the end, I just didn't care. So I'll say that I
Mm,
didn't really care how it ended. I actually wanted it to end almost unhappy ending, sad ending, right? Because I think actually that would have made everything right. It ended almost in the way I kind of expected, but yet even then it was unexpectedly what's the word here? Underwhelming of
mm,
that. The whole
yeah.
show was an underwhelming. We had said bamboozled, right? We felt bamboozled even midway because you're like. So the whole impression the show gives me after having watched it is that it made a lot of noise, used a lot of like almost like ink to draw a giant canvas of nothingness. What do you have after watching the show? You're like, what do I have left with? I barely remember what it was about. Didn't really care about any of the characters walking away. Right? The colors were
Mhm.
nice, the costumes were nice. It just felt very wasteful.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
I will, again, I can go at length nitpicking, but that's not the point of this, right? And in wrap up, it made it a happy ending, but I'm not so sure it was a satisfactory happy ending
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, right? So 2 things. I think the show tried to make the female lead, meaning like she's this grand benevolent goddess supposedly everyone should be adoring and following. That's why everyone follows her to do whatever she wants, even if it's a bloody revenge, right? But it
Mhm.
didn't jive with what she was doing. At some point she realizes, I think half at least heartedly, that she was somewhat wrong to be so overwhelmed by her hate, especially when she
Wh
realized it was.
Even then, I felt like she was begrudgingly admitting
Yes,
that she was
exactly.
wrong. Yeah.
Exactly, and I don't even care, right? Like, it felt like it wasn't clear what she was regretting or sorry about, to be honest. And the theme of the show, my lesson from watching the show is only death fixes things. Think about this, right? Bai Jiusi, the
Yeah.
male lead, had to basically die for her to admit that she was wrong.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
um, like who else had to die? I feel like there were some other characters who had to die
Her
for things
Sifu
to work.
her Sifu died. Um, her Sifu, right? The other guy died. I mean, a
Oh,
whole actually, a lot of people died
Ling
at the end.
Linger's near death. which was so stupid too. She's just a vengeful bitch. Okay, I'm sorry. Um, like it was so unnecessary. She felt like a obstinate child trying to teach her dad a lesson. I get it, but honestly, I
Yeah.
don't see why she was so important in her rightness. Okay, her dad wasn't in the right, but neither was she, to be honest. They were just again, they're no different from Bai Si and what's her name, Hua Ruyue, right? Because they're just two people who can't who are in a bickering giant fight and can't let it go. Neither is
Mm-hmm.
right. Anyway, so her almost death triggered somewhat of a semi-reconciliation. And then there was the sect girl. Remember the sect girl, the purple girl? I'm gonna just call her
Yes,
Demon.
yes.
She almost died, and that triggered her boyfriend's realization. Oh, I need to prioritize her. I'm like, so the theme of this is telling me you gotta die for people to come around, which is the stupidest theme ever, if that's the theme. But that's my only notable takeaway. The other thing, so I had said they tried to make I think the female lead this benevolent goddess type, but I feel like the show did not do any favors in that sense of establishing that character. Right? Remember I said this last time? I said
Mm-hmm.
everything she did seemed selfishly oriented. Right? She was
Mm-hmm.
saving humans, but it was only humans she knew and cared about. She went to
Right.
kill the dragon, but only after years of it causing disaster, and only after this human she wanted to save said, "Oh, I'm gonna go kill him no matter what." So that's self-interest. That has nothing to do with benevolence, right? And then she made all these people follow. She didn't make them, you can argue, but she cultivated a whole cult, literally, right?
Yeah.
To go and
Right.
kill her ex-husband because of her
Mm-hmm.
hate and vengeance. And these people follow her blindly because, oh, you're such, they all act like lingers, like, oh, my life is so changed because of you. And then the old man, right, her
Yeah.
student, the sect leader, was like, oh, the best thing that ever happened to me was meeting you. I'm like, okay. And then he did the one thing he shouldn't have done to me. Uh, if you wanted to make her a true, but like establish her as a benevolence and worship worthy goddess, you should have let her kill herself at the end, as she was
Yes.
supposedly intending to do, sacrifice her body to save
Yes.
mankind. But no, they said, "Oh, you can't die. Let me do that for you, Sifu." I'm like, okay, so she's never actually done any act of true benevolence for all mankind.
Right.
Even the one
Mm-hmm.
chance you set her up to do, she didn't do it. She didn't go through with it because someone else took her spot. So what did she actually have to show for it?
Right. Right. Yeah, I
Right?
agree. Yep. Nope. I was like that was so weird because that's her role, right? Like the
Yeah.
grand goddess. Like you would think that like she would have fought tooth and nail to say, "Hey, no, you're not to take my spot." But she was like, "Okay, go on. I'll see you later." Like she
Yeah.
very much accepted his offer and as if his life wasn't worthy, or only existed for
Well,
her for her.
she didn't accept it. He did something to, I think,
He
neutralize her for
drugged
a
her.
while. Yeah,
He
but
drugged her.
still,
Yeah.
her reaction wasn't exactly like, "Oh my god," you know? And
Yeah,
I
and
was
like
like,
like she couldn't call help, like she couldn't call other people to come and stop him or right? Like
it just
she's just like, "Okay, I guess I'm drugged for the next 5 hours as you go and sacrifice yourself."
she didn't try very hard, lady, is all I can say,
No.
right? But I'm not blaming her. I'm blaming the script and the way the story chooses to tell its story, which was illogical. It
Yeah.
it wanted to have its cake and eat it too, right?
Mhm.
And it
Yeah.
did nothing to deserve any of the things it tried to establish. Like it basically, in my book, failed on all fronts. Didn't
Yeah.
tell a meaningful love story. Didn't establish a great female lead worthy of our adoration. They tried to make the male lead kind of like either hateful or lovable, depending on where you stood. And I liked him at the beginning, and I thought he was really cute as the idiotic baby. But at the end of the day, like I said, he's still a wet mop, and he forgave her very easily, and was just like, "Oh, okay, I'm alive again. Let's kiss now. Let's make out."
Right,
I'm just
right.
waiting for the next cycle of hatred to happen because she never really changed in my mind, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so we last spoke what episode 28 I think was where we stopped, and then this is basically the last 6 episodes, whatever it is. So we had talked about how would they redeem their relationship as well, right? Like not just her character, but like if this is supposed to be a happy ending, like how do you redeem and get rid of or forgive all the hatred? And we had predicted maybe those memory wipes, maybe like, they wipe their memories, and then they kind of did that with the male lead, where he came back as basically like a child in a grown man's body. And I was like, oh, this is weird because she started treating him like a child. I'm like, oh my God, it's like she lost their son. They lost their son,
Right.
and now
He gave he
he's like
gave
her
her what
son.
she was missing, and she even said that, right? She's going, "Well, I don't know why I'm suddenly treating you like a child." Like I said, death and this had to soften her. Otherwise, she would never have thought out. Even though she realized by then, she had already sort of said, "I realized I made some mistakes, right, in
Right.
choices."
Yeah.
But she would never cave. So either her pride or ego or obstinance won't let her. So I'm like, then how is this a worthy character? How would she pivot into a more benevolent character, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
and then I don't know. Like she's just this like statue that just walks through the whole story, an angry stone piece. And I'm just like, this is kind of weird and boring. And then the bad guy made no sense either, right? Like
That
they all
guy.
like ridiculous people who went way out of their way to prove I don't know what point they were trying to prove.
Okay, so yeah, so remember when we were talking, I said, okay, what's the second male lead's function, right? I was like, up until this
None.
point, like, so he was like the vessel for the villain, right? Like at
He's
least
a plot
very,
device.
yeah, very very briefly he was the vessel, and then I mean, I guess he stayed the vessel because he could help with the evil powers or whatever. And so I mean, I like I said, I think I said this the first time. Like I think the mechanics of everything actually worked out very interestingly for me, like to get from point A to point B, to get certain scenes to happen or certain things to like pivot or make the plot like move along. Like I thought mechanically, if you could talk about the how they plant all these things along the way, they worked for me. The biggest issue has always been the motivations of the characters. Like they did not match with the mechanics. And that's why you don't buy it. You don't buy it when you talk about this person, what is their role here? Or, oh, is this really love? Or, oh, did they really make sacrifices? Like that's why you don't believe in it, because like yes, if this was a pure like action, and when I say action, I mean like martial arts action type of
You mean like
show.
brainless action? If it was a brainless
Yeah,
action,
like either brainless or you're just here to watch the special effects and the fighting. I mean, there was a lot of nice choreography in terms of fighting and stuff. I think then you can just immerse yourself in that, right? Make it like pure
mm-hmm.
martial arts, pure like good versus evil. But then they had to put in this like schmaltzy like tragic love story element to it, which did not make sense because we didn't buy the love. We didn't believe in the love in the first place, because and then by the end you're like, do we care that they're together? So at the end, the way they I think the way that the story tried to redeem all of this was to give her the sense of some control over the past, right? Which is that's you said it wasn't time travel, but it's like going back to key moments in time. And then she
Mm-hmm.
tried to either change it or prevent something from happening, but they never show you whether or not her actions actually prevented any of the calamities or misunderstandings. It's just implied at that moment she did what she could to hopefully give each moment a happier ending than what had happened before. And so I was like, okay, I guess that's the way the script writers decided was the only way to do it, right? Aside from one minor memory wipe of the male lead, and then okay, and then for her to feel better about, losing their child or whatever, she can go back into that moment and say, "Oh, you're pregnant. Take care of your baby. Oh, and he's really here for you. He's not really betraying you." And you're like, "Oh, okay, I guess that rights all the wrongs." And
But not
so if
really.
you yeah, it's not really, but if you believe in that relationship, then you can say, okay, that fixes some of the issues, or allows her to redeem herself, because she's an immortal, she's gonna live forever, and she doesn't want to feel these moments of regret. This is her way of removing the regret and possibly the remorse, and I guess that's how they decide to end it. And I don't know if I enjoy that, but I understand, again, the mechanics. I understood why they did it that way. I just, by that point, like you said, you don't care about the characters. So you're like, okay, let's just get this over with.
Think I don't want to waste more time on this one. I just move on, but I think I just want to make sure, right? Like I understand what you're saying. I think what you're saying is you understand the mechanics. Like they try to set things to say this is a logical trigger for the next thing or a reason
Yes.
for explaining something later that is revealed. But then when you put it all together, you're like, but it didn't have to go this way at all. It makes no sense. It's not meaningful and it doesn't actually make emotional logic or even real life practical logic in real life. This is not how people would behave or do
Right.
things. So yes,
Mhm.
you told me how A is linked to B and C, but that's not how ABC usually links together in real life, and it was not necessary.
Right. I mean,
So
look,
it was
if you
very
talk about the
forced.
yeah, yeah. I mean, even the villain, right? The villain doesn't reveal until way after the last basically 5
Random
episodes.
villain out of nowhere.
And you know, and he has the same issue as the female lead, right? He was
Yeah.
just bent on revenge. And so you have two vengeful people that you're supposed to like, do I root for this vengeful person or do I root for the other vengeful person? And neither of them are likable. I mean, they try to humanize him one moment because remember he was like basically killing everybody, and then that little boy ghost, you know, he looked at the
Yeah.
little like the one that eats everything. I thought oh by the way, I thought that kid was hilarious. He was a good actor. Um, you know, he looked at him and it reminded him of the son he lost, and then he just didn't kill him. Like, so you're like, oh, he had like one iota of humanity left in him where he could feel some compassion. But otherwise, you're like, yeah, like it's just not, yeah.
I
So in the
mean,
end, no one cared that he died. No one cared. No one cared
nobody
that.
cared about anything and nobody actually had like explained anything. Like everyone did things that you're like, oh, that's not right, what you should have done. And then they make it a deal for 2 seconds and then they move on. Like when the sect leader gave up the sword, because they
Oh
resisted all
yeah,
the way. And then they're like, oh, that's a big deal, right? That's a big deal. And
yes.
he's like, oh, do you think that was they're like, do you think I did wrong to do that? But I have my reasons or something like that. And then they just dropped it. And you're like, what? What was the point of that?
I was like, okay, no, I was like, what? I was like, was that a fake sword, like a you know, like a mock sword? But I was like, oh, he gave him the real sword. Like after everyone's like half dead.
That's what I'm saying. The show is about, oh, looky here. This is a very important theme. Oh, look at that. That's an important like morality situation. Oh, okay, look at there. It's like, look here, right? It's all flash and lightning and music and whatever. And you're just like, and what is the point? Is there a point? Oh, that was it. You just wanted us to look at it. There was actually no point. Just look. Right? I mean, this is how you get viewership, I guess. That's how YouTube won, right? It hit like the 10,000 heat index. But I'm like, it's so undeserving. It's like watching a car crash. Come, look at the car crash.
Was it sustainably popular or did it drop? Do you know? I don't know
I
if
don't
you know.
remember. It
I
hit
see.
at some point, but who cares?
Yeah. Well, I think it matters because if this does well, then future dramas are going to try to emulate this, you know, versus better quality.
People compared this to 白月繁星, right? Moonlight Mystique, which is her previous, Bailu's previous Xinhai that just came out earlier this year, which I loved. And they're like, oh, that didn't break 10,000. How come this broke? That one, oh, people are like, because the script is not as good on the other one. I'm like, are you shitting me? That was a very well told story, right?
Yes. Yes.
And this is why it has maintained a pretty consistent long tail in terms of viewership.
Moonlight
Because new
Mystique.
people, yes, the storyline had the same phenomenon, which is it's people who discover it later will actually still go, wow, this is a great show. Why didn't anyone tell me? Or why did I give this why didn't I give it a go at the time?
Yeah.
Right? So they may not peak high and
Mm-hmm.
fast, but they have sustainability. So, the tortoise and the hare situation is what I call this.
Yeah. No, this one is, yeah, forgettable. Very forgettable. I don't know if you even want to give it a rating.
I was gonna say, if I had to give it a rating, I'd give it like a somewhere between a 5.5 and a 6.2.
Oh, that's high.
Oh, well then let me hear what your rating is.
I'm gonna get so much hate. Um, it's like a 3.2. 3.2.
Wow.
I
That is the
know.
lowest I've
You know,
ever.
you know why? Because uh, look, it's very rare for me to finish a show that I don't like. I mean, I've dropped other shows for like less reasons, right? Like just pure boredom
Yes.
sometimes, right? You're like, oh, this is
Yes.
going nowhere. I'm bored. Even
But they're
if I
not
like
3.2s
yeah,
or
even
3.4s.
right, even if they're like actors I really love and can look at all day, I'm like, I can't get into this plot. Like, I would just drop it, or maybe I'll come back to it, and then I forget about it. Like this one, I wanted it to redeem itself, but it just
Mhm.
ended in such a catastrophic way that was not satisfying, was not
So bad.
memorable. It was disappointing because we liked the leads, from other shows we've seen. So like, and they had, like I said, they had good off-screen chemistry when they did the promotional stuff. And I'm like, I'm never gonna watch this again. I'm like gonna go back and like let me relive this moment. There were no moments to relive. It was just
No.
disappointment,
Just to just to forget, moments to forget.
Yeah.
The time you wasted watching this.
Yes. I know. I could have been watching other shows. So yes, that's that's probably even though like I said, I thought the aesthetics, it was very pretty to look at. Like the sets look really nice. The computer graphics of the Heaven realm were
Yes.
really nice, really
Yes.
beautiful actually. Like all the costumes, like if you see the close up stills of like even the hair ornaments, everything is beautiful. Like I will not crap on that. Like costumes, aesthetics, architecture, design, great. But the story was just like ugh,
Yes.
killed me. Yeah.
So I think the visuals is what I am giving points to. I thought the visuals well done. Now people had complaints about like Dragon Boy's face mask during the fight. I was like,
Oh,
no, that's what an Indian god would wear. Like,
yeah.
remember I said there's a Vedic theme
Mm-hmm.
to a lot of the costumes?
Yes, I noticed that
And I
too.
think that's what he would that's you've seen like Indian like Vedic gods with their face kind of jewelry. That's what it would look like. I'm like,
Yes.
are people not missing that point? But I digress. So I think visual, it was entertaining. There was the promise. It kept us, I guess, watching. So honestly, if you ask me between this and the other show that I had made fun of till the end of the moon, I actually think that one was more entertaining than this. As choppy and ridiculous, and I don't even like what's his name, Ruixian, Leo Luo, that much as a male lead.
Mm-hmm.
I actually thought the story in that one was up to a point much more entertaining. Like it
Yeah.
made more sense even when it was choppy, okay? Like, anyways. So, anyways, time to
Anyways.
switch to Seven Relics.
Yes. So we both are at episode 15. We finished episode 15.
Out of 32.
I think as of now, I think on YouTube only 18 episodes have been released. So I don't know
Oh,
about
really?
any.
For you?
Yeah. So probably in
It's done.
China it's been further
It's
on.
finished.
Oh, it has? Okay.
Yes.
Um okay, so I'm watching this. So I was telling you, I'm also watching another show that has the same female actress. It's called Be Passionately in Love. And so we're not going to talk about that today, but I will say it's funny because I'm watching them almost like side by side. I'm on like episode 13 of that one. And I said, "Oh, the female actress acts the exact same in both dramas." Um but she has chemistry with both male leads and it's very whiplashy to watch it. You're like, "Oh, like she's very cute in both situations." Like the character is also very similar. Although Seven Relics is more action oriented, so her character is like more not Lara Croft, but definitely like more there's just more power to her. Like she's like a girl boss type of character. So anyways, so I digress. So we started watching this because we like the male leads, Song Weilong and R.A. Peng. Hopefully I said their names correctly. So I had very little expectations. Actually, I was afraid to watch this because I was like, I'm not really into horror or gore, and there are some gory elements to this. But I will say, like, as I'm watching this, like, it is riveting and it's intriguing and it's actually very refreshing to watch because the plot lines. I was telling you, I was like, I felt very Western, like some of the ways that they set up the stories and the pacing is very quick and then it's not your typical setup where you have family dramas or friendship issues. Like this one is almost like you called it a Scooby Doo gang, like where these different
I said it
people.
was the Scooby Gang, but
Yeah.
I realized it's not really Scooby Doo Gang. It's the Scooby Gang from Buffy that I really meant. And remember
Mm.
I said Watching this, I agree with you. It's very Western in that it feels like a good CW show, like
Mhm.
Supernatural and Buffy, where it's a bunch of young people who have great dynamics and interpersonal chemistry, right? Whether however you pair them, right? Whether it's romantic or not,
Right.
the camaraderie, the mystery, the new supernatural is just icing on the cake. It has comedy, it has heart, it has, you know, like random goofy episodes sometimes, right? Like Buffy and Supernatural, they all have musical episodes sometimes.
Mhm.
It just plays with genre bending kind of or genre mixing very well.
Yes.
So it's, Feud was underwhelming. This is almost the opposite. It's not overwhelming. I shouldn't say that. It's not like, oh my God, the best show ever, right? But it's like, wow, this is very refreshingly entertaining and easy to watch.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like it would, because of the format and the way the stories go through arcs, it would work as a long running season, multi-season like series in like on US TV.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I said the same thing to you. I was like, it's weird because when okay, so the story when this starts, right? It's like this murder mystery, right? Like there's actually different people trying to solve an unsolved murder. And the story is like a case that happened like decades ago, like not decades, like 12 years ago, whatever. And so when you're watching this, it's a very personal story for all of the people involved because they have sort of very close ties to that murder. But then at some point it transitions and it becomes this bigger arc where the supernatural element from the first story kind of leads them down a path to do other things. And so the Scooby Gang is really like people that like somehow got sucked into the situation and then they start investigating together. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's why when we talk about like, is this set up, does it work for like a Chinese format versus like an American format? Like an American format, I feel like you could really run this through several years. Like just because there's the way they're approaching it is it's very open-ended in terms of like what how you get to each storyline. Like it's not a
Right.
regurgitation of the previous story, so like you never
Yeah.
know what's gonna happen. Like you never know what the villain or the evil thing is gonna be like when they were in the desert, like
Yeah.
like,
The
so-
giant clam.
yeah, I don't want to say it, but it's like the giant clam. We're like, what, that's the villain.
Laughable.
The-
Laughable and yet also oddly entertaining.
yeah, I mean because they have to film all of this with a straight face, right? Like, oh my god, we're fighting a giant possessed clam,
Yeah.
like in the
Yeah.
desert. And so you're like, what is happening? Like, is this even of course it's not plausible, but like, where's this water
No.
source? And you're
They're
like,
like
oh.
clam surfing.
So like as you're watching this, it's some of it is silly. And you have mentioned it's a novel. I haven't read the novel, so I do wonder how much of it is lifted from the
Mm.
novel.
The author helped adapt this. I think she said that people said this is the only adaptation of hers where she had, up to now at least, where she had like a direct control over the
Hmm.
adaptation.
Okay.
They still made changes, I believe, from the actual original story. But I think because of that, it probably stayed true to how she wants to interpret it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I would say like even those storylines are kind of random. I mean, they definitely feel like this author or just allowed her imagination to run wild and it shows, but it's done in a very intelligent way. And the characters are they're interesting people. They all have very sad backstories so far, except for like one character. I
Mm-hmm.
think of the like so
Oh,
far, yeah. Huh? Except for
who
Chubby.
doesn't?
Chubby so far has
Oh,
not.
you don't know his
I
backstory
said
yet.
so far we don't know his backstory yet. But the other characters, you've seen them kind of go either tell you or they ruminated over something that happened to them. So like you're like, oh, so it's kind of nice that they have formed this unit where they are basically best friends. And yeah, so I'm
Found
finding
family.
with huh.
The
So
found family
yes,
trope.
yes. So now actually at episode 15, it's starting to pivot. I feel like it's pivoting. I don't know if you feel the same way, where they reveal more of the female lead and her backstory. And so now it's kind of like, huh, I wonder how it's gonna go because the dynamics are gonna change, right? The what am I trying to say? Like the just the friendships that part,
Interpersonal.
yeah, interpersonal like relationships are gonna change. Sorry. And
Yes.
so I'm still interested because again the title of the show is Seven Relics. So There are things that
Yeah.
they're looking for. They found 3 of them so far, 4
7
of them.
pieces of bacon. Sorry. I'm sorry. For context, that you and I were saying how the relics are disgusting, and you're like, yeah, especially the first one. I was like, oh yeah, because it looks like a piece of frying bacon, and someone posted a piece of bacon on Red Note and said, oh, I encountered a relic today. It was either bacon or pork belly, but same
It's
idea.
so gross. I'm like, I told you, like, in certain scenes, I'm like, I'm not into gore, so I'm just reading the subtitles and ignoring what's on the screen just to, like, get through it, and then, I mean, they don't really focus that much on the gore. I feel like that a lot of that is also sort of like a shock value kind of thing where they
It
want
was
to, what?
Yeah. But it was very, it does it whatever genre it wanders into, like you said, it goes all over the place, right? It works somehow. It makes it work. Like the first arc was very much horror, mystery, murder mystery, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was terrifying. Like there was
Yeah.
a lot of suspense, right? When they reminisce the night of the murder, that was
Mm-hmm.
scary shit, man.
Yeah.
Um, almost like Hitchcockian. And then there it right like with the twins and the
Yeah.
memories and the
Mm-hmm.
blah 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 hiding in the closet. And then the second one was true like monster horror, right?
That was right Indiana
uh
Jones to me, like,
yeah, exactly. So I would have to say that whoever did the casting on this did a really good job.
I agree. Yeah.
Are they all the best actors ever? No, we all know that So Weilong is not the best actor. Although you and I just had an epiphany. We're like, you know what? He's not the best actor, but he's like a Chinese Keanu Reeves
Yes.
because his line delivery. I remember I texted you. It's like, oh, So Weilong's Chinese is weird. Like he has a weird accent when he speaks, but then still does Keanu, right? Keanu speaks in a very Keanu way when he
Mm-hmm.
speaks, and you're just like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's Keanu. I feel like the Suelo has that like earnest kind of like earnest but not quite there sometimes feel
Mm-hmm.
to him for his
Yeah.
character, but it works. And then Aripan's Aripan, and he's what is it? You kept texting me going, he's you're like, oh, he cracks me up, and I wanted to ask you like, what was he doing in the woods for you that was
I
cracking
don't
you up,
I don't
right?
remember now. It's just random, like, oh, like there was like one scene. This is so stupid. But I remember when he had his back to some like the door in the bar, and his hair's kind of long, and then the guy, the chubby, they call him chubby in the English title,
Yeah.
and the subtitle, and he's like, "Excuse me, miss," and he turns around, and he just like does this weird body shake, like, what? I'm not a woman. And I was just like, such a stupid delivery, but I was laughing because it's like, it was just so dumb. But he stays consistently like that type of character, and his lines, like, I'm sure it's from the scriptwriter, but or the author, but like his lines are so funny. Like every time like someone says something, he'll like say something back that's so sarcastic, and it's like, but it's so realistic. Like it's kind of like what someone in your life who knows you well, who doesn't care who's
Yes.
not afraid to offend you, would say to you. And I just think,
Yeah.
wow, this is his funniest role I've seen. Like, funny. I mean, he's a tragic character in some ways, as they will reveal slowly, but his persona is very funny, and the way he views life is very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like
Yeah.
how they were he kind of, I don't know if they foreshadowed it, like they're like, oh, what are your life goals? He's like, I want to meet a rich woman, and then he meets a rich girl, right? But there's no romance
Well,
yet right now. But I was like,
no,
oh,
but
but when
you
but
know
that
they're gonna end up.
right? So I was like, oh, that's an interesting way to, yeah, because he's like, I want to meet a rich woman. That's my life goal, and, and then later on he meets her.
But then she loses her fortune.
Yeah,
But honestly, they have better chemistry, the second CP, I would say. And in this show, there is not a true first, second CP in the traditional C drama way, right? They're just like pairings.
yeah,
It's like like Buffy and Angel or Spike versus Xander and whoever was his girlfriend at the time, Willow or
I was gonna say,
Anya.
was it
Is it
Willow?
Anya? It was first Willow, but then Willow became a lesbian.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I actually like the second CP. They're much more livelier,
Yes.
right? Because Sung Weilong's more Keanu Wooden-ish, and then the girl who you said was in the other show you're also watching, she's very kind of doll-like, but in a wooden way.
Yeah.
But part of it is the types of characters she plays. She likes to play so far. It sounds like because I did check out 2 episodes of the other show you're watching. Was it Be Passionately in Love? I don't know how the word passion works itself into that title. Because I haven't detected any.
That's been the
Be
complaint from lots of fans. Why is this called
so she seems to
passionately?
right. She plays these kind of like not low EQ, but mute what is it? Stunted EQ
Hmm.
persons, I feel like.
Yeah, so I've only seen her in Derailment, which I never finished. And so apparently, not that it would affect Seven Relics, but she has a no kissing clause in her contracts. So she doesn't do kissing scenes with any of her male leads. And so in Derailment, the romance was more of like a friendship turn. Like it never got super romantic, at least where I got. And then in here, in Some Relics, it's like there's some mutual liking, admiration, crushing, but it's very, very chaste, and it's okay because it's really focused on the action. I think the main issue with
Hmm.
the Be Passionately in Love is that that's a pure romance. It's like a pure high school into college romance, and like the buildup of it. So therefore, when you think there's going to be a kissing scene and it pans away to like treetops and birds flying, you're like, what the heck? And then the next thing they're like talking about, oh, you're such a good kisser. And you're like, what the hell? I didn't see anything. What are we talking about here? I was like,
All
uh,
talk. Absolutely all talk and no action.
yeah, like there's another
No.
scene where like he apparently gave her a hickey, but you don't see that. You just see a band-aid on her neck, and you're like, oh, is that what's it insinuating? But anyways, I'm digressing. I'm not here to talk about that show. But like I think here her acting, like I was telling you, it's very similar to that show. But I think she still has very good chemistry with her male leads. Like I don't mind her acting. I think she just needs to choose characters where it's not too romantic oriented if she has no intention of playing those characters, because I think it will hurt her in the long run. I think if she wants to stick to
Hmm.
these types of like either, I mean, you mentioned she has dancer's background, so I think for this role it worked out with all the choreography. Like she can play like this martial arts expert, or in the future she wants to play a police officer. Like I'm not saying they need to be anti-romance, but I just think if she's not gonna play that game and she's not comfortable, then focus on roles that don't have too much romance in it and people will like her. I think she can play those roles, but I think even here, like you and I said that we actually think the second female lead acts a lot better. Like she acts more with her eyes, and even though she doesn't
Hmm.
have a main plot behind her, like I actually think she could play the first female lead in a different type
And
of
she's also a
drama.
dancer.
Yeah. So I think yeah, I mean so far I think the whole cast is very enjoyable, like you said, very well casted, good chemistry. I haven't actually watched any of the promotional stuff, so I don't know what they're like off camera, but on camera they seem to have a really great camaraderie, and that's what's keeping me watching.
Yeah, and also how the story. I do actually care about the story, but I so the funny thing is, I would highly recommend if you haven't checked it out to check out this show, give it a chance because I went into it with misgivings, right? Because it's not the type of genre I usually watch. The previous one of this type that I checked out was long ago with Joseph Zeng, which was very popular, called Ultimate Note, which is based on another author's series of books about kind of like not grave robbing, but treasure hunting and stuff, right? Finding
Mhm.
ancient mysteries. It was super popular. I watched, I think, 20 episodes then. I could not go on. My friend was like, "Oh no, it's great. You should keep watching." But I told, and I said, Seven Relics is kind of like it, but better. It's much more coherent. I said the other show, Ultimate Note, was yeah, it has moments of funniness and camaraderie, but it made no sense because I feel like you either had to know the characters from reading the book and the situations, right? Or really understand the plot. And then the friend I talked to about this, he's like, "Oh yeah, you're right. The author is notorious for writing really choppy like narratives." I'm like, "Oh, well, no wonder, right?
Yeah.
Like, what's the point, right?"
Mm.
It's like so I think Seven Relics is better in that sense, and I can definitely finish this, but I'm also not like, oh, I have to finish it in one go because it's like a casual watch that you want to pay attention to and just eke it out over time. I don't have to rush to the end to be like, oh, I need to find out what happens. It's all
Right.
better, right?
Yeah.
To have like them with you longer because they're kind of like buddies you see in your life. You're like enjoy seeing now and then. You go,
Mhm.
yeah, cool, it's them again. And what's the next adventure?
It's
So
kind of like reading a comic book, I guess, right? Like that type of
yes,
where you're into it, you love the you're enjoying the ride, but you're not like, oh my god, that was such a cliffhanger. I need to know right away. Like it's not set up
Right.
in that way. So
It's not emotionally like it's not taxing, but like
draining.
engaging in the same way as a romance,
Yeah. It's not heavy
right?
romance. Yeah. I mean there
No.
are people that like each other. But like I said, it's just sort of more like it's played down. It's not played up for, some big confession
Yeah.
scene. Like it's not that type of drama.
Yes. Well, anyways, so we're almost halfway through that, right, show,
Mhm.
and we got another 17 episodes to go, and then I'm hoping this bodes well for the next adaptation, right, of this author's books. I told you at the
Yes.
beginning with cdrama and Chen Xinhai. In fact, they just came out with an alternative trailer for that one. Remember the first trailer was all scary
Yeah.
looking?
It's really gruesome. I was like, what
Yes.
is this?
And now the second trailer is all goofy comedy, and you're like, what is going on? Like,
Oh, I haven't seen. Did I see? I might have seen that one. I think you sent
no,
it
I
to me.
sent it to you.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought,
I did see
yeah.
it.
So,
No, at least this one prepares me for that one because I'm like, okay, I can get past some of the gore and some of the dark themes, and
yeah, but
and
it's a
and we like the
two-person
we like the other
dynamic.
two leads, so it
Yes,
won't it
yes,
won't.
but it's a two-person dynamic.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not gonna be this type of friendship circle that you have here. Um,
Yeah.
hmm.
Yes. Well, at least we ended on a happy note.
Only because we didn't talk about Feud.
Forever.
This is the last time we'll mention it.
Yeah, that's it. For out memory wipe. Moving on.
just like what's his name? Baijiu Si.
Yeah, just like him.
Alright,
So,
well, that's all I have for today.
okay. Until next time. Bye.